Hello everyone, I am Farina Tuscano and I will be presenting chapter number 5 Process Discovery from the book Fundamentals of Business Process Management. In this chapter, we will first discuss the setting of process discovery, then we'll discuss different methods used in process discovery. After that, we'll study about methods for modeling process, and finally we'll look for process model quality assurance. Process discovery. As we see the definition of process discovery, it is the act of gathering information about an existing process and organizing it in terms of an as-is process model. So here, the main aim of process discovery is to produce as-is process models. This model represents how a process works. Now, let's look at the 4 tasks of process discovery. First, we'll define the setting of a process discovery project. This means we need to assemble a team of people that is responsible for managing the project. Then we have to start gathering information that is required to understand how the process actually works. Then we need to arrange this information in systematic way, which is the task of modeling. Finally, we need to consider quality assurance after conducting modeling task. Quality assurance guarantees that the product model meets all the quality criteria. Out of these 4 tasks, assuring process model quality will work only if the modeling task is conducted. Next, we have 2 important roles in process discovery. One is the process analyst and the second one is domain expert. Distinguishing these 2 roles is important because they are associated with different skills and expertise. The process analyst is responsible for gathering information for a business process, while the domain expert already has the knowledge of how a particular task is performed in the process. The process analyst has no prior experience of being a process participant or a customer, but domain expert has experience of process participant and the owner of process. There are various challenges in coming up with accurate process model. The 3 main process discovery challenges are fragmented process knowledge, thinking in cases, and lack of familiarity with process modeling language. Let's look in detail about each challenge. Fragmented process knowledge. In business process, different people are involved to perform different business tasks, and each one has different view about the process. In this way, there can be information compatibility issue. So, it is the job of process analyst to conduct iterative validation and put fragmented pieces of data together. Thinking in cases. Domain experts know very details of a process, but the major challenge is to abstract data. When we discover a process, we are more interested in learning about small details of how a process actually works. So, data abstraction is important. The third challenge about lack of familiarity with process modeling language means if you are not a BPMN expert, you won't understand anything. And so, the process analyst must talk in a natural language which is understood by the domain expert. And so, we get the right information that is required for a process model. Now let's have a look at the profile of expert process analyst. You may wonder what makes a process analyst expert. A good process analyst has different skills. He or she has the spirit to get right people on board. The process analyst is also a person who needs to formulate and test hypotheses. The process analyst must also be able to identify patterns and how certain cases are similar and how to represent them in business process model. And finally, the process analyst must pay attention to model quality. Now let's have a look at the five-factor model. The five-factor model describes the personality of a process analyst. The first factor is openness, which describes how open-minded and creative the process analyst is. Second, conscientiousness. It describes how organized and dependable the process analyst is. Third, extraversion describes how energetic and talkative the process analyst is. Fourth, agreeableness. This describes how cooperative the process analyst is. And fifth one, neuroticism, which describes how anxious the process analyst is about his work. Now let's have a look at the different process discovery methods. The three process discovery methods are evidence-based discovery method, interview-based discovery method, and workshop-based discovery method. Let's look at evidence-based discovery method. There are three types: document analysis, observation, and automated process discovery. Document analysis. Here, there is already a document available which is used to develop hypotheses and familiarizing oneself with process. In observation, we learn about how a business process actually works. Process analyst needs to understand the process from the point of view of a customer and also an observer. Automated process discovery uses event logs. So, the data is stored in enterprise system and is available for use by a business process. Next, we have interview-based discovery. Here, several domain experts are being interviewed to understand how process is executed. But everyone has different knowledge and experience. There are two ways to conduct an interview. First, we approach the result and then the process triggers. The second way is to approach the triggers and wait until we reach the process outcome. But interview-based discovery is a time-consuming process. The third discovery is workshop-based discovery. It provides detailed understanding of business process and has advantage of settling disagreements between the views of domain experts more quickly than interviews. We have the facilitator assigned for verbal contribution and process modeler assigned to create process models. Let's study the strengths and weaknesses of process discovery method. The different aspects are objectivity, richness, time consumption, and immediacy of feedback. For evidence-based discovery, the objectivity is high, while for interviews and workshops, it is medium high. For evidence-based discovery, the richness is medium, but for interviews and workshops, it is high. For evidence-based discovery, the time consumed is low-medium, while for interviews and workshops, it is medium. For evidence-based discovery, immediacy of feedback is low, while for interviews and workshops, it is high. Let's see the different methods, their strengths and weaknesses. Document analysis. The strengths are structured information, independent from stakeholders' availability, and the weaknesses are outdated material and wrong level of abstraction. Second, observation. The strength is context-rich insights, and the weaknesses are potentially intrusive, stakeholders likely to behave differently, and only few cases and not all processes can be observed. Third, automated discovery. The strengths are extensive set of cases and objective data. The weaknesses are potential issue with data quality and level of abstraction. Data may not be available or be available only in part, and data extraction and preparation is time consuming. Next is interviews. Strength is context-rich insights and weaknesses are requires spare time of stakeholders, time consuming, several iterations required before sign-off. The last one is workshops. Strengths are context-rich insights and direct resolution of conflicting views, while the weaknesses are requires simultaneous availability of multiple stakeholders and time consuming multiple sessions typically required. Next is process modeling method. There are different methods. The first one is to identify the process boundaries. It is necessary to understand the scope of process, which includes who are involved in the process creation and what is the estimated time and cost of the process. After that, the second is to identify activities and events. The goal is to identify the main process and the events. Third, to identify resources and their handoffs. After determining the primary activities, we categorize these activities on the basis of data provided. Fourth, identify the control flow. The control flow is concerned with timing and action of the events executed. Fifth, identify additional elements. This will have the database and data stored which are required to store the data in a process. The business process modeling diagram. There are different swim lanes. The tasks that are performed in a business process are represented in the box. The arrows show the flow of process. The dotted arrows show the flow of message. Now let's study about the process model quality assurance. Three qualities are applied over here. The first one is semantic, second is syntactic, and the third is pragmatic. Semantic looks for validation, syntactic looks for verification, and pragmatic looks for certification. Let's learn in detail about these three qualities. In semantic, we focus on overall meaning of the model after the model is validated. All conclusions can be drawn. In syntactic, we are concerned about the structure and behavior. The structure deals with connection between various model pieces, while the behavior is concerned about how a process model can be instantiated. And in pragmatic, we are concerned with how user is using the process model. So coming to the conclusion, in this chapter, we learned about four tasks of process discovery methods, the major difference between process analyst and domain expert. We looked at the challenges faced in process discovery. This chapter also focuses on what makes a process analyst expert. Along with this, we also saw different process discovery and modeling methods. And finally, we saw process model quality assurance. Thank you.